Everybody, I'm Jenny Harkleroad, owner at Balance You, and I'm super excited to have with me today the very famous Dr. Warren Jacobs. He is a hero in my life and so many others, and I'm really excited to talk to him today and to hear more about his work and what he does and how he changes people's lives, helps them change their life, right? That's what you would probably say. And we're going to talk about childhood trauma and experiences and how they affect our health and wellness as we grow up. And we've got a lot of fun things to talk about. So thanks for being here. First of all, I'm excited to have you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I enjoy doing this with you, Janie.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We got a lot of attention out of our last video. So everybody said, when are you bringing him back on? So thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah. So first off, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you've been helping people heal for decades.
Well, that's true. I've been around a long time and I'm still learning. And one of the big things that changed my life is in the 70s, I met this chiropractor from Pasadena, John Thie. And he changed my life. He showed me there was a different way of looking at the body, which helped me to be of service to people with chronic complaints, whether they were migraine or low back pain or chronic bowel inflammatory disease, things that I wasn't very successful at helping people with. And he showed me a different system, different way of looking at the body. And
Okay.
that's been a great boon in my life, I'll tell you.
So you're a standard medical doctor.
Yeah, I had a very good medical education, and it worked great in acute illness. I think we have one of the best medical systems in the world in acute illness, but to apply the same tactics in chronic illness as acute illness, it just doesn't work very well.
Yeah. And so you heard John Thie and you saw what he did and you thought, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for?
Well, not at first. At first, it was so strange to me. You know, my background was in science. I have a Bachelor of Science degree, you know, physics and chemistry. And this was, well, it was very strange to me. But it had to do with the body and it worked, so I couldn't deny it. Actually, I studied it for 8 years before I ever did it on the first patient.
So when you say it, what is it? What did
Well,
you do?
it has to do with energy in the body, and it's a way to use the energy system in the body to both diagnose and treat chronic complaints. And it's just very difficult to talk about it and have people agree. It sounded weird to me when I first heard. What I find is with people, I don't waste a lot of time explaining it. I just get started and let them experience a change in their energy as they say, they make certain statements. And it's very hard to deny the change in your body energy when you do that. And that's really what convinces most people. It's not for everybody, you know. Convinces most people, and then they're on their way to recovery for maybe chronic ailments that they've had for years, some for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah. So there might be somebody on this call that experienced your work and had a mighty change. Can we talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right. So I remember 2013, I broke my back in a hiking accident and I was bedridden for a little while. And then I went to physical therapy and I was seeing chiropractor and acupuncture, massage and physical therapy. And a couple of years went by and I was still seeing all those people and still struggling. So I had major surgery. They put in rods and screws and a synthetic disc, diffusion, right? And then about 7 months after that, I was still in the same terrible place. And I was introduced to you. And I came over to your home office right where you're sitting right now. And you said something like, "It's a beautiful day out. What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I can't sit in a chair, first off.
I remember that. Yeah.
I can't even sit down, and I wanted some help." And so you were able to use this process that you vaguely described to ask my system what was going on. And my system responded with some answers that there was a lot of emotional things that were causing physical pain. And I thought that was crazy. It didn't make sense. How could that be? I broke my back. I had back surgery. Here's my medical files. And I remember you said, "Well, you don't have to believe it. It's not for everyone." But I was desperate. I stayed. I wanted to get better. And we worked through some emotional things and figured out with the muscle test that I was actually causing this pain in my own body. I was doing it to myself subconsciously, of course, not on purpose. And you taught me how to stop doing that, to stop causing that tension in my back. And as soon as I somehow energetically caught on to this, about 6 hours later, 6 sessions later, the pain was gone. It was gone. It like turned off like a light switch. It was a miracle. We made a miracle together. Yay. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And so you do that with people with all sorts of issues, right?
That's
Would
true.
you say you get to the root of the problem?
Yeah, and I think the way it works really, we all have experiences every day, and some of the material that we're comfortable with, we commit that to our brain, our conscious memory, and there it is available to us. But other thoughts or feelings or impulses or urges that are for one reason or another we're uncomfortable with, they're sort of not so acceptable, we suppress them and we push them down inside, deep and away from our conscious mind. And it feels like they're gone, but they're not really gone. They still can affect our function of our body and our behavior. And many of us say, "Oh, why did I say that? Why did that bother me so much? Why can't I do this or that?" And we don't realize it's coming from down there inside, but not on a conscious level. And very often with chronic illness, if the person is willing and motivated, there is a way to get into that material. And as it becomes available and the person is conscious of that, many times their chronic symptoms just fade away. We all are more powerful than we suspect. And to get in touch with that power, it's really exciting to me to witness a person like yourself who gets in touch with their inner self and accepts themselves, even with the parts that are difficult to accept, that maybe they're in the wrong line of work, or there are things about their partner they can't stand, or about their parents or their child. If they can accept that, great changes happen in the body. And it's I think it's hard for people watching this to believe it because they're not experiencing it personally. You need to experience it personally.
Yeah.
And it's not for everyone. We'll say that. It's not.
Yeah.
But it's very exciting to me to do this work. And that's why I'm still doing it at my advanced age. And I love it.
You have to say how old you are, because you don't look your age. Nobody would ever guess.
Well, last September 30th, I turned 90.
90.
I'll be 91 this September. I can't believe it myself. But I love my work. And it isn't a chore. It isn't really work. It's a joy. And to have people, I'm so fortunate to have people like yourself, people that have courage and and really are driven. They want to get better. They don't want to have their symptoms. And you deserve the credit. I tell you, you do. You're
Well, with
special.
your help, together
Yeah, we did it together.
Yes.
That's how I look at the relationship with the patient. It's sort of the illness is on one side, and myself as the therapist, the doctor, and the patient on the other side. And we're working together to change this illness.
Yes.
It isn't as if I have the answer for the patient. I really don't. People think I do, like I'm reading their mind, but it's not. The answer, the patient not only has the pain, the disability, the fear, the upset, but also has the answer, but it's not in their conscious mind. And all I have is a method whereby they can connect their conscious mind with what's going on inside. Maybe that sounds too simple to you, but it really is simple. It really is simple.
It is simple. It is. So you sent me an email with an ACE test, an ACE score.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so this is talking about childhood and traumas in childhood. And there was a study done that shows that the higher your ACE score, the more traumas you've been through, the more health issues you have. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. And these are, you have to understand, to a child, the world is what goes on within the family. And if they witness violence in the home, or maybe a parent is arrested and put in jail, or there's a divorce, or, you know, there are big arguments with terrible energy in the household, and it isn't calm, it has a profound effect on the child. Plus certain specific difficulties in childhood. And there's a list, I think it was maybe 12 there.
Yeah.
And if you have more than 4 of them, there's a great likelihood that you're going to have problems later in life. Now, when I heard of this study, I thought, well, that's understandable that you would have emotional difficulties or relationship difficulties or communication. But what astounded me, there were also a higher incidence of pneumonia, serious pneumonia, heart disturbances, you know, this kind of thing. And it was hard to see the connection between that and adverse childhood experiences. But there's the proof. It affects your health. Your immune system just doesn't work right if you've had that kind of experience in childhood. Also, I notice in working with people who have difficulty in communication, not just with their boss at work, but with their partner, with their children, that the roots of that have really come out of their childhood. Certain patterns started back there and they've continued on. They think the trouble is with their spouse, and really it's a pattern that they adopted in order to survive in their family of origin. And if they can deal with that and express how they felt as children, somehow they leave my office and go home and they do better inside their family. And maybe their chronic gastritis clears up, or their hemorrhoids get better, or their colitis improves. It's amazing. It's a mind-body connection, which we're increasingly aware of its importance.
Yeah.
Especially in the last few years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's where this mind-body medicine concept came from. Yeah.
And I think it'll become more and more popular as people start to discover.
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah.
They can heal.
It's not for everybody. You know, some people just won't go there. Yeah. But then there are people like you who are very open. I think therapy works best when we're in pain, and you were really distressed, and that helped you. It's true you had a lot of courage to face your truths.
I had a lot of desperation.
Yeah, but that's what helps. That's what helps. If you can live with your disability and it's not a big deal, this is not for you. It's when you really are unhappy with the situation,
Yeah. And there were several things going on with me, not only my physical pain, but I was in a career that was successful, but not really my purpose and passion. And I remember you said, well, do something else. And I can't do something else. I mean, I got a mortgage to pay. You said, of course you can do something else. I mean, that hadn't even entered my mind. I was always telling myself, no, get back to work, like suck it up. You got a lifestyle to provide for.
Yeah.
And doing something every day that's not your purpose or passion, that wears on you.
Yes, and at first it was unthinkable. What do you mean? I'm trained, I'm successful at this. Why should I give it? That's what you expected of yourself, you see, but it didn't fit you.
Right.
It didn't fit you. And for you to change something just because it didn't fit you or suit you, that was a very foreign kind of idea for you.
Yes.
So you needed someone to say, well, why not,
Yeah. But it was even harder than changing careers and giving up all my money. Even harder than that was when you said, I think you should bring your mom in so the two of you can have a discussion. Oh, I said,
what?
No way, no how. And you said, why not?
Yeah.
And it happened, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It happened. Yeah.
And those conversations are so healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all convince ourselves that some things are impossible, can't be healed, can't be helped. We tell ourselves a story, and that story holds us back.
Yeah.
We need somebody to suggest, well, why not?
So what about someone who says, well, I have this disease because it runs in my family?
Well, as it turns out, only about 5% of all chronic illnesses are genetically based. You take in my family, there's very strong diabetes. And my father's mother and sisters all had diabetes, and his brother had diabetes. Very likely chance that I also had it. And about, well, let me think, 6 or 7 years ago, my weight was up to 204 pounds. And I said, that's it. I got some help with another kinesiologist that I helped train. And she got me in touch with why I needed the extra weight. And I lost 40 pounds and I never put it back on.
Just from knowing why you
Yeah, and I'm a very vain guy. I dropped 2 sizes in my pant size, and no way am I going back. I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah,
I can wear tight pants and look pretty good.
You look fantastic.
Yeah, there's so many things we can change. We are all very powerful beings, Now, some of us don't want to get in touch with that power, and that's okay. But those that do, there's a way to be helped.
So what do we do to be good parents if we're in that phase of life when we're raising kids and we want to try to help them be as happy and as healthy as possible? How do we keep them from getting ill because of the bad choices we make?
Well, I'll tell you, Phyllis and I, we have 5 children. Of course, they're all grown up now. What I think mostly we have to do is stop seeing every negative thing they do and picturing what that will lead to in the future if we don't correct that immediately. That is so foolish. And I was guilty of that. The other thing is to listen. And that not only goes for your children, listen to them. If they want something that for one reason or another you can't get for them or give to them, or you don't believe in it would be good for them, at least listen to why they want it. You don't have to give it. it's not a contest. I think I know for myself, I don't have to have what I want, but if somebody won't listen to how I feel about that, I get kind of upset. If I'm just listened to, then I can give it up. But if I'm not listened to, I don't like that. And I think I didn't always listen to my children. And I'm sorry for that. But I sure listen now.
Uh-huh.
And
Absolutely.
that's not only for your children, that goes for your spouse. It
Yes.
goes for everybody. I don't care if you're in the business world. My son has a landscape contracting business, and he's a wonderful listener. And I'm sure, yeah, he's successful. It isn't just because he went to university and he got some skills there, or he's nice looking, or, he knows how to listen to the customer. If somebody's unhappy, he says, you look like you're unhappy. Tell me what you're displeased about. And then he shuts his mouth and opens his ears. That goes a long way in life. And it goes a very long way between a doctor and a patient. And in medical school, we were trained to get the history, do the physical, and then tell the patient what he should be doing differently, or to write a prescription. And I tell you, illness, that does not work very well. If listening works well, because sometimes you can hear in the person's body language what's really bothering them, and not just what they say is bothering them. And that goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I was involved some years in the medical school in San Diego, teaching medical students in the first year of medical school how to listen to the patient. And I think that goes a long way. If you do that, you're helping right there. Yeah. We don't do enough of that. We don't do enough of that with each other in life.
Yes. I remember you gave me a fantastic demonstration of listening when I was sitting there in your office. And I've shared it with many people. And if you don't mind, I'll share it again. And you'll probably remember this conversation because you have the best memory of anyone I've ever met. I'm always jealous of how you remember everything about everybody. So you said, I'm going to give you a little exercise on listening. I'm going to say something and then you're going to respond. And so I was like, ready for it. And you said, okay, Jenny, the earth is flat. And then you wanted me to respond. So I was trying to do what I thought you wanted me to do, which was, Warren, that's really interesting that you see that. I can see why you would think that. I mean, I go to the beach, I look out, it looks flat. However, and this is where I was wrong, the however, right? However, because of modern discoveries, we can travel to outer space, we can look down at the earth, we can see it's round, on and on. And you said, wrong. Failed that quiz, you're not listening, you're giving your opinion. And so when you were just talking about listening with your kids and your spouse and doctor patient, all of those things, how important that lesson has been to me that you taught me. Not that I'm always perfect at it, of course, but I think about it. I think about listening to understand, not listening to give my opinion of what they say.
You're not giving up anything. You're not agreeing with the person. You're not objecting. You're not countering. You're just listening to why that person might feel that way. And that encourages a person to talk more. If you say, oh, that's crazy, everybody knows the earth is round, that ends the conversation. There's no more communication. What's the point of it? And if you just say, well, tell me why you feel that way, the person is encouraged. You may say, well, you men, and she will say, men are not trustworthy. It's just the way they are. And then I don't argue. I say, well, there must be something that makes you feel that way. Would you tell me about it? And then that person opens up, and you, maybe people won't believe this, but maybe their hemorrhoids get better. You're not agreeing with her. It isn't that sort of thing. You're just letting them get it out. So much stuff that's held inside has a negative consequence regarding the normal functioning of the body. And I don't just mean like the hemorrhoids get worse. Their immune system doesn't work as well when they hold anger inside. Just if you allow them to express it in the way that they're comfortable, their body's going to work a little better. That's how the system was designed.
Yes.
I mean, that's just how it is.
Has it always been this way that we hold things in, or is it more that way today?
Well, no, I think certain places in California, people hold less inside than they do in New England. There are differences in places.
Yeah.
In Southern California is very kind of more open. Not everybody, but by and large, I would say that's true. And that's part of the reason why I'm living here. It isn't just the weather. But it all depends. So much of it depends on the rules that you grew up in your family of origin. It's okay to say this. It's okay to feel that. Now, I was very fortunate because my folks, Mary and Jack, whatever they had inside came right out in your face. And it wasn't very pleasant in the moment, but you knew exactly where you stood. And that's why it's easy for me to be myself. I think self-acceptance is so powerful. It doesn't mean you do whatever you feel like. You don't, but you accept your urge to do it. It doesn't mean you do it, but you accept yourself. And a lot of what I do with people is I attempt to help them to do that too. And that does more for chronic illnesses than drugs do, or dietary changes, or not that those things aren't important too, but in my experience, the greater weight is on emotions we hold inside and we don't accept that we have them. That's destructive to the body's natural healing and its immune system.
So now in your practice, how much of it is medical doctor versus kinesiology?
Well, I don't see that it's separate. To me, it's all part of, it's all together, Now, if I get a patient with a strep throat, he doesn't want to look at anything else. He just wants some antibiotic. Okay. But if I have a person with every spring and every fall, he gets his peptic inflammatory disease and he wants his pills again. And he says to me, isn't there something else that can help me besides taking these pills? I'll say, well, maybe there is. Should we take a look at that? And, most of the times it works pretty good. It's a joy. It's a joy to do this work.
It is.
That's why I'm still doing it.
If somebody wants to get a hold of you, are you still accepting patients?
Sure. Why not? Yeah. I meet interesting people, I'll tell you. I don't know. People very interesting. And I'm not a very social person, so maybe I'm still doing this in part because it's one place I feel comfortable getting close to somebody and knowing them. Yeah. And so maybe that's part of why I do it. Because I'm not a guy to sit in a bar and have a drink and chit-chat with the next one, or go to a cocktail party and chit-chat. I'm not much for that.
I know you go to the tennis court, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're hoping to go tomorrow morning.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So how does someone get a hold of you if they want to come see you?
Well, they just call me on the phone.
Well, what's your number?
Oh, no, no, no. Okay. 760-672-3011.
Okay, one more time in case they want to write it down and they weren't ready.
760-672-3011. And it's Warren Jacobs, MD.
And you're in San
California
Diego.
license G5091. How's that?
That is perfect. And you got your medical license what year?
Must have been 1958.
Holy moly.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
it's
while
about
ago.
60 years ago, is that right? 62 years ago. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on this call with me today. I love sharing your wisdom with the world, even though you're a little shy to share your wisdom. I think it's so powerful, and I hope that people who are struggling will call you and have the courage to be done with their struggles and live their best life.
Well, they've got to copy you because you're a woman of great courage. Not everybody has that, Jenny, and that's a big part of why you turned your life around, because you were willing to take a look at what was inside that was buried deeply. Not everybody does that.
Yeah. It wasn't
You did
necessarily
it.
it wasn't necessarily a fun process, but it was a freeing process.
Yeah, freeing. Yeah, yeah,
Free. Yeah.
yeah.
It's good to be free.
Good. Well, I've enjoyed this chat with you,
Thanks, Warren.
Jenny. Thank you for going to all the trouble.
No trouble at all.
And keep on.
All right. My pleasure. Talk to you later.
Bye.
We'll see ya.